Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Giddy Knits. I am Helen, as always, and I am coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband Tom and my two boys, Arthur, who is 5, and Jasper, who is 2.5. Today is Sunday the 19th of May, and I'm finally sitting down to record a podcast. So this is a knitting podcast predominantly. I also talk about a bit of hand-dyed yarn. I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns, and you may notice today we have a slightly different setup. I am currently prepping for 2 shows, and I've got my grid wall, well, I've got 2 of my grid walls down from the loft at the moment, as you can kind of see behind me, to kind of help me plan my setup and stuff like that. So you've got a slightly nicer background in some respects, but then off to the sides, you've got a bit of mess. So just kind of ignore all of this bit where my arms are, and I'll be happy. Because of the table being here and the grid wall being here, this is where I usually podcast, but I have a lot less space, and I usually have a sofa here instead. The sofa is currently living over there where the table usually lives. So as a result, my setup is slightly different, and I've actually just got my phone kind of balanced on the bookshelves, so hopefully everything will go okay. But it does mean that I've not been able to kind of frame it without the mess. And yeah, I could have tidied up, but that wasn't going to happen. Anyway, what have I got for you this week? So I wanted to start with a couple of little announcements, and then I was going to have a little designer focus section this week. I haven't done one for a while. I started off at the beginning of this year saying I was going to do the designers focuses kind of more regularly, and I do plan on continuing to do them. It's just quite a lot of extra prep work. When I sit down to record a podcast, it's often kind of off the bat. It's like I've got an hour spare and I need to sit down and get this done. And having the time to kind of sit down on Ravelry and go through the designer that I want to talk about, go through all their patterns and pick out my favourites and, you know, kind of that kind of thing, takes a little bit of planning. And I'm not very good at planning. But I have managed it this week, so I will have a little bit of a designer focus section. And then we've got the usuals. I've got a finished object for you. I've got some works in progress to share. I've got a couple of new cast-ons. I've got a little bit of Yarny Goodness. And then I was going to touch on a little bit of shop news as well, as usual. So I guess we better get into it. My tea is still really hot. Okay, so announcements. I have a couple of announcements. First of all, I just wanted to mention my June shows. So today, as I mentioned, is the 19th of May. I have got 2 shows at the beginning of June. I will be at Leeds Wool Festival, which is at the Leeds Industrial Museum on June the 1st. And I will also be at Aberdeen Yarn Festival, which is on the 9th, Sunday the 9th of June. Quite why I decided to do 2 yarn shows on consecutive weekends, I have no idea, because the prep is slightly crazy. I've got no idea about how much yarn to dye. I don't know. Part of me is thinking it'll be fine because I probably won't sell anything much at Leeds and then Aberdeen. I don't know. But do you know what I mean? You know, when you're just kind of like, if things go really well at Leeds, I could be really stuck for Aberdeen and vice versa. Anyway, enough about my neuroticism. So yeah, that was it. So Leeds Wool Festival on the 1st of June and Aberdeen Yarn Festival on the 9th of June. So if you're coming to any of those, it would be great to see you. Please come up and say hello. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I'm just going to mention quickly as well. If you follow the podcast, you may have noticed that I am doing May vlogs at the moment, which is just a series of daily vlogs throughout May. They're mostly kind of little snippets of my work day, little bits of the family, little bits of family life, and stuff like that. I'm really enjoying doing them. They're all kind of under 10 minutes long, pretty much, just short little snippets of daily life throughout May in the preparation for the yarn shows. So yeah, no, it's been quite fun to do those, but they are up on my channel if you want to check them out. And finally, the last little announcement I wanted to talk about is that we have got a knit along running. Now, I haven't actually talked about this on the podcast because at least I don't think I did. I may have done. Anyway, I don't think I did because it's been about a month since I last podcast. And it was quite a last minute decision. But as you may be aware, I have been working with Lilli of Nordic Stitches in putting together a yarn collection, which is actually these 5 colours just up here, for her Summer Shorties sock club. And I've shared all the patterns on the podcast so far, I think. I can't remember if I've shared the most recent ones. I think I've shared them all on the podcast. Anyway, you'll have been able to see them online as well. Sorry, I'm getting a frog in my throat now. So anyway, yes, so Lilli designed the patterns, I designed the yarn to go with the patterns, and we are hosting a knit along. The knit along started at the beginning of May and it runs through to the end of June, so you've still got plenty of time. And to enter, all you have to do is knit one pair of Lilli's Nordic Stitches Summer Shorties 2019 Sock Club patterns. If you choose to knit them not even in the official yarn, if you choose to knit them in any of my yarn, then you can get an extra entry. So you'd be able to post once in the finished object thread for completing the pair of socks, and also again for the fact that you've used some of my yarn for it. And yeah, it's just a little fun, you only need to complete 1 pair to enter. If you complete all 5 pairs, then you get 5 entries. If you complete all 5 pairs in my yarn, then you can have 10 entries. But we are splitting it up. So I have got the chatter thread. That's the word I want. I've got the chatter thread in my Ravelry group, and Lilli has got the finished objects thread over in her Ravelry group. I will be drawing prizes from the chatter thread. Well, I will be drawing a prize from the chatter thread as well, just to kind of encourage a little bit of chatter and a little bit of participation. But there will be pattern prizes from Lilli up for grabs, and yarn prizes from me as well. So yeah, if you want to come and join in, then head over to the Ravelry groups and check it out. I will try and remember to link those down below. And talking of linking things down below, hopefully I will get a chance to do show notes for this episode, and if I do, they will be linked down below. Otherwise, I will try and just link some of the important things in the drop down box down below on YouTube. Obviously, with doing the May vlogs and prepping for the yarn shows, show notes for this episode may not happen. I will see how much time I get. Okay, so I'm going to be popping this in, so if the editing looks a little bit funny, then it's completely my fault. But I meant to do the designer focus section after the announcements bit, and I completely forgot. So I'm going to do the designer focus bit now separately, and then I will cut the video in the right place. But my editing skills are not that fancy. So we'll see how it looks. Anyway, so for designer focus, having just been talking about Nordic Stitches and Lilli with her Summer Shorties sock club that I've been involved in this year, I thought I would use Lilli. That's not quite what I mean. I thought that I would make Lilli my designer focus for this episode. Because I've been talking about her Summer Shorties socks, and I talked about them last summer as well when I knit her last year ones, but she's got a lot of other patterns that deserve to be shared. So I thought I would just, so Nordic Stitches is my designer focus for this section and this episode. So Lilli lives in Norway. And she is a Norwegian knitwear designer. She is also a podcaster. She has the Nordic Stitches podcast on YouTube, which is kind of her knitting and crafting podcast, which I've been following for a while now. But she has also recently started the Lilli E podcast channel as well. And again, I will try and link these down below in the show notes, which is a kind of, it focuses on her travels around Norway. So she's currently traveling. I think she's traveling for about 6 months. I'm not 100% sure. But she's currently traveling around Norway. And she is podcasting and vlogging as she goes. So the Lilli E one is kind of a Norwegian, follow her travels around Norway. She's just showing a lot of kind of the areas that she goes to, some gorgeous scenery and things like that. She's also peppering it with some Norwegian facts and funny stories and things like that. So that's quite fun to kind of get a little bit of an idea of a different culture and a different country. So yeah, as I said, Lilli has those podcast channels, so go and check those out if you want to know a little bit more about her. But she is also a knitwear designer. And I'll start with the socks because we've talked about Lilli's socks already, and I've just shown you, have I just shown you, or will I just be showing you? Ooh, that's confusing. I think I will be showing you in a minute, so I won't show you them again now. All of the patterns from this year's Summer Shorties sock collection, which are the ones that we collaborated with the Wildflower collection, which are these yarns up here. And I loved her Summer Shorties sock club. So when we started discussing the idea of collaborating and she suggested I might like to collaborate and work with her for the Summer Shorties collection, I jumped on it because I knit, as you know, if you've watched the podcast, I knit her Summer Shorties from last year, just completely off my back. I'd been watching her podcast and I'd seen on YouTube that she was talking about them, and I loved the idea of knitting some shorties. So I purchased the collection when she released it. I purchased the club when she released it. And in fact, this was before I'd even kind of got chatting to her and got to know her more on Instagram. And yeah, I absolutely love them. So she's got the Summer Shorties sock clubs for this year, which will be showing you the patterns on the actual socks, so I won't put up pictures for those. But she also has all the Summer Shorties from last year's sock club, which were kind of beach themed. So you had the seaweed socks, mermaid socks, and I will pop up pictures of all of these. In fact, if I shuffle this way a little bit so you don't cut my head off when I pop the pictures up, I will pop pictures up over here of all of the socks from last year's Summer Shorties sock collection. But Lilli also has a variety of different sock patterns. So she also did a Christmas sock club in 2018, which consisted of a number of different Christmas patterns. And I can't remember now, I really should have checked. I can't remember whether I certainly didn't knit any of them last year. And I can't remember whether I purchased them. I think I might have purchased the club because I vaguely remember considering the Silver Bells socks, which are one of my favourites. And again, I will pop a picture up for you as my Christmas Eve cast on. But they are gorgeous. And two of my favourites are definitely the Silver Bells socks and also the Chestnuts roasting socks that look really, really fun. And there's a few others as well, which again, I will just put up pictures of them here. But another one of my favourite of her sock patterns, which I am desperate to knit, and I own this sock pattern, and I am desperate to knitting. And in fact, I might knit it with one of my Yarny Goodnesses, which I will be showing you a little bit later on. And that is the Country Roads. And I've lost focus. Come back, camera. Where am I? I'm here. Are you going to focus on me today at all? Oh, well, we'll see what happens. And that is the Country Roads socks. And they're just really, really simple socks with a lovely cable going down the side. And again, I'll put up a picture. You're going to get annoyed at me saying that, aren't you? But she has a really lovely selection of different sock patterns. And they're really versatile as well, into whether you can knit them as shorties or whether you want to extend the leg and knit them as long socks. She's also got a few lovely colourwork mitten patterns, and my favourite are the Scandinavia mittens and the gorgeous kind of fingering weight 2-colour mittens. Really, 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 really makes me want to try again with my colourwork mittens. If you've watched the podcast for a while, you'll know that last year I made an attempt to knit some Selby mittens, but they ended up getting frogged. I didn't quite get my tension right, and I got the colours the wrong way around, and yeah, I wasn't very happy with them. But I really do want to give them a go again. So seeing these mittens make me want to get the colourwork mittens back out again and attempt those. I would probably start with the Selby mittens that I was doing because they're a simple pattern, but I definitely want to give these ones a go at some point. They are stunning. And then Lilli also has a variety of shawls, and I've picked 3 of my favourites, which I will share with you now. The first of those is the Arctic shawl. These are all fingering weight shawls, but the Arctic shawl I think would work really, really well with minis. It's a gorgeous kind of striped shawl, and Lilli's sample has been done with a rainbow, which I really, really like. It looks like a really simple construction. It just looks really fun to knit, and I think if you did each of those coloured sections with mini skeins and then picked a contrast colour to go for the kind of lace sections in between, I think that would look absolutely lovely. And then one of my other favourite shawls of hers is the Frozen shawl, which again, it's a kind of a mix of lace and texture, and it just looks really, really fun. It's a 2-colour shawl, And I think if you picked two gorgeous contrasting or coordinating colours, this would look absolutely lovely. And then my absolute favourite of Lilli's shawl patterns, which I would really like to knit at some point. I just haven't quite worked out colours. I think her colours that she's picked for it are so stunning and so gorgeous. But I think I would really struggle to pick colours and make it look as gorgeous as that. I feel like I tend to pick colours that are a little bit bright, or I don't know. I just love this kind of muted, gorgeous, pretty shawl. But that is it's called the Granny's Geraniums shawl. And the shawl was designed and initially raised to release money for cancer, to raise money for cancer. And it is stunning. And as I said, it's kind of, I think it uses 4 colours. And you actually start it with the mitered square in the centre. So I think it would be a really fun and really interesting construction. Yeah, so they are my favourite of Lilli's patterns that I've shared. There are others. And I will link Lilli's podcasts, and I will link her Ravelry shop down below in the drop down menu so that you can go and check them out if you're interested. And my designer focus will return again at some point in the future with some more patterns to share with you all. Okay, let's move on then to my kind of finished object. And it's only a kind of finished object because it's a half finished object. But it is a sample, so I'm calling it a finished object because I won't be knitting the other one right now. And that is my poppy socks. So these are part of the Summer Shorties sock collection. These are one of the patterns that Lilli released this year, and these are the poppy pattern. See if I can get my camera to focus and get some decent light. There we go. So as I said, they're all shorty socks, and this is the most recent one, and this is then knit in the poppy colorway as well, which is my colorway. So yeah, I've now got 5 sample socks. I knit 3. I will show you the other 2 because I'm not sure whether I have actually shown them all to you. So we've got Poppy, which is that one there. And then I also knit Dandelion, which is this one here. See if I can show you that. I can't actually see what I'm showing you because I'm blocking my view. So this one is Dandelion. And again, that is in the Dandelion yarn. Then the other one I knit is this one here, which is Wild Orchid. Names and colourways are the same, if that makes sense. Name of the pattern and name of the colourway is the same. So this one here is Wild Orchid, and I really enjoyed this one. This is one of my favourite patterns. It's got this lovely kind of almost a scaly kind of pattern with the slip stitches on the top and this tiny little mini cable that goes down the side. And then a lovely friend of mine knit me a couple of samples, and she knit Anemone, which is this one here. And again, this is a really fun pattern. You've got a lovely little cable down the side and this really nice kind of section in the centre here. And then the final one is Heather, which is this one here, which again, my friend knit for me, which I was eternally grateful for because I would never have got these all done in time otherwise. So there we go. So this one is Heather. So yep, so that is my kind of finished object for this episode. I've not been having quite as much knitting time, or well, no, that's not quite true. I've been having knitting time. I just haven't been finishing things because I have been starting things. Anyway, talking about knitting time and what I have been working on, I will move on to my works in progress. Right, works in progress. I'm looking, I've got them all sort of set out in front of me underneath the camera, which is actually quite nice. I'm quite liking this setup. But yeah, so works in progress. What shall I start with? Let's start with my Haunted Mansion socks. So these have been on the needles for a little while now, but I have got one finished. Let's pop it on a blocker just so it shows off the yarn a little bit better. Here we go. So I have got one finished sock. So I have a hoe, I guess, a half finished object. And in fact, this little marker marks sort of where I was the last time I showed you this. And the yarn I'm using for these is by Down Sheepy Lane, and it's the Haunted Mansion colourway, and it's on her 80/20 comfy sock base, which I'm really enjoying. And I love the colours, and I love the way this is knitting up. I'm looking forward to having these socks finished to be able to wear them. I am working well on the second sock. So I have put the heel in on the second sock, as you can see, and I am just sort of starting to work my way down the foot. So hopefully by the next time I record, these will be finished. And the yarn is absolutely lovely. I'm just trying to angle it slightly so you get the light on it, so you get kind of the best natural light view of the yarn. There we go. So yeah, these are plodding along nicely. And as usual, they're living in a little grey girl bag, because it wouldn't be me without using them. So that's my first work in progress. And then the second work in progress is my Pure Joy shawl, which again has seen a little bit of progress. See if I can get this out. This is living in another little grey girl bag, and this was one of my EYF purchases. Her drawstring bags are new to her shop, and they are absolutely lovely. But living in here somewhere, there we go, is the yarn and everything. Right, let me get myself sorted. So this is my Pure Joy shawl. I'm just trying to work out if I'm the right way around. Yeah, here we go. So last time I recorded, again, I was just where this little progress keeper is. And this is a little progress keeper from Hannah at the Corner of Craft. A lovely sort of cream egg progress keeper. So I have made some progress on this, definitely. And I am really, really enjoying how it's working up. I'm really enjoying the colours. See if I can get you a bit closer with the colours, and give you a little bit of a better view of that with the light. And the yarn I'm using is King Fibre. It's a rubbish label, isn't it? I've got holes in both the labels for some reason. And I'm using the Cactus colourway, which is this one here, if my camera will focus on it. I'm not getting the best view of that with the light today, I'm afraid. There we go, that's a little bit better. And the Platinum colourway, which is this gorgeous Get Grey, which has actually got some lovely little speckles of black in there too. And the base I'm using, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but this is their High Twist BFL base. So it's 100% BFL yarn, but it is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's going to make for a really, really, really lovely shawl. And I don't know why I don't keep picking this up, because actually when I do pick it up, I realise quite how simple it is. It's garter stitch and it's short rows, but it's actually really mindless and really simple. I think because I've got it in my head that sometimes shawls are quite complicated, I need to be in the right frame of mind to work on something complicated. But this isn't complicated, so really I could just work on this any evening. I keep dropping it. There we go. So yeah, this will definitely see some more progress. And then I have got one more kind of work in progress to share with you. Now this work in progress has gone dramatically backwards since I last showed it to you. And it's living in this bag, which I received in a lovely swap, because this is a nice big bag. Now this was my Dust of Snow wrap, but I made a dramatic decision a few weeks ago to frog it, because I really wasn't loving the mohair. And I was kind of starting to think to myself, I don't know that I'm going to wear it with the mohair, and I didn't have enough of the mohair that I'd been using to complete the project, because I hadn't really looked at the mileage. That's not what I mean, is it? I hadn't really looked at like the meterage and the yardage and checked it out properly, which was really stupid of me. So I decided I'm just going to frog it and start again without the mohair. So I did that, and then I kind of raided all my minis and all my scraps, and I've now pulled out a few more and a few different ones, and I now have the full... Sorry, I'm just trying to get the bag so that I can hold it up and show you just about. Let's take the pattern out and the needles out. So I now have a full bag of scraps and minis and everything in here ready to become another dust of snow wrap, a new dust of snow wrap, but without the mohair. I just haven't really sat down and cast it on yet, which I do need to do. And I am hoping to do that quite soon and get it started again, because if I want to carry on with my kind of doing 2 colours a month, I'm now got kind of 6 months to catch up on. But that's fine. It's fine. It'll get done. They're quite quick once you get started into the sections. So hopefully I'll be able to devote a little bit of time to that soon. But yeah, it's kind of a backwards work in progress, an unwork in progress. So that is all my works in progress. I've then got 2 new cast-ons. And we'll start with the smaller of the 2, which has fallen on the floor. And that is living in this lovely little bag. Again, another little grey girl one. This was one from the first mystery gem of this year. So this is a new cast on. Whoops. And it's all a little bit fiddly. Oh, I've just dropped the cable needle. And I've got yarn tangled all over the place and everything. Right. What's going on here? What are we attached to? Goodness knows. Okay. I have no idea what's going on. Ah, I can see. Okay, anyway, so while I'm untangling this, I will tell you kind of what this is. I decided to cast on the next pair of scrappy socks using the Lay Family Yarn and Friends mini skein club. And I have cast on some pattern socks this time. So I've cast on the Honeybee Dance socks, which is a pattern by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And it was part of one of her some sock societies. That's the word I want. It was part of the sock society, which she did, which was a kind of a series of patterns. And I didn't get round to finishing them. So I thought this was on my list of things to make this year. And in fact, this pattern is on my Make 9 as well this year, as is my Dust of Snow, but hopefully we'll catch up with that one. But I thought I would try it as a scrappy sock pattern because the pattern repeat is 12 rows. And let's just show you where I've got to. Here we go. So the pattern repeat is 12 rows. So I thought, well, what I will do is I will do 1 pattern repeat in each colour. And I think it's working really, really nicely, actually. So I've just put the heel in, which is what my hand is hiding in down there. I've just put the heel in and I've got all of the colours in there. I'm just starting down the foot with the coming back to this colour. So yeah, I think it's working really nicely. If I show you the back, you can kind of see the progression of the colours a little bit more clearly. There we go. Oh, that's got caught up there, hasn't it? There we go. So I decided with this one, if I show you all the colours in the balls, if I can without dropping them. So you've got these 3 here, and then we've got these 3 here as well. And with this one, it was very clear to me in the skein that this was going to be kind of a micro striping, pooling, variegated kind of colourway. And I didn't really want that going down the leg of the sock because I just thought that would not work with the pattern. And it would kind of really interrupt the pattern, whereas the others are all kind of speckled colourways, so they were going to work quite well. So I decided that I would just use that one for the heels and toes, and you can kind of see it is kind of micro striping, which is lovely, and I'm really happy to kind of embrace that in the toe, but I don't think I would have been as happy with that in the pattern section of the sock. So this one is just going to be heels and toes, and I'm going to embrace the fun craziness. And then the rest of them will just be the rest of the pattern. But yeah, I'm really enjoying working on these. And these ones are, as I said, it's part of the Lay Family and Friends mini skein club, which is really hard to say. And this is, there you go. So there's Kelly's logo, Lay Family Yarn and Friends, and the month that I'm doing is, I can't quite remember which, I think it might be the May one, Oh no, it's not the May one, because May's now. Anyway, I can't remember which one it was, but the collaborator she worked with on it is Betsy Makes. And I've not had any minis from Betsy Makes before, so that's quite nice to be working with somebody, some yarn from somebody new. Let me pop that back in the bag. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. It's a really easy pattern, actually. It looks very complicated. I'm talking the pattern, that reminds me to pick up my cable needle. But I'm not having to refer to the charts constantly. So I've now got the pattern kind of off in my head, and I can just read the knitting to work out what I'm supposed to be doing. And you know what? I used to hear people say that, oh, I can just read my knitting, I don't need to look at the charts. And that was something I never used to be able to do. I used to really, really struggle with kind of reading my knitting, and I always needed to follow the charts and to tick off every bit of the pattern and things like that. And it's only, I think, in the last kind of 4 or 5 months maybe, that suddenly something with that kind of lace knitting has clicked, and I can now read my knitting so much more easily, and I can remember knitting patterns. So I think it really does just take practice, doesn't it? Okay, so my last new cast on is living in this bag. It's living in my West Knits Are the Best Knits tote, which I picked up at, whoops, nearly dropped it, which I picked up at EYF. And I am knitting, I have cast on a So Faded sweater. It's been on my list to knit for a while, but I've been struggling a little bit with the thought of casting on a sweater. I've been struggling a little bit with body confidence, I guess, is the really thing to say. I've put on a lot of weight since having Jasper. After Arthur, I bounced back really well. I managed to lose any weight I put on, and in fact I went lower. I lost more weight than I put on having Arthur, and it worked really, really well. After Jasper, I have just struggled, and I am probably at the moment at the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and obviously that's not easy, is it? And I've been struggling to kind of accept that and struggling to do anything about it. But it has meant that I've suffered a little bit with kind of body confidence and lack of body confidence, which has kind of put me off casting on new garments, because I keep saying to myself, oh, I need to lose a bit of weight first. I need to lose a bit of weight and then I'll cast on something new, blah, 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 all this kind of thing. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, no, because I've got yarn to cast things on and I want to knit them. So I have accepted, I have just sort of said to myself, right, you know what, just cast it on for now. If you do lose weight and it doesn't fit you, then that's fine. It will just become a cozy, comfy thing that you can put on in the evenings. And actually quite a large garment would be lovely. So anyway, enough about my body confidence issues. I cast it on. I just accepted it, and I said, you know what, I want this garment and I want to be able to wear it, and I want to be able to wear it at the size I am now, and I want it to fit me at the size I am now. So I just went with it. So here we are. I am about 5 rows away from separating for the sleeves. So it's actually a really awkward point on the needles to show you. And I probably need to put it on longer needles again now as well. But this is the back. So you can kind of see the 2 colours. I am on the second colour. Let's turn it this way a bit again. So, oh, the light, what are you doing, light, today? I am on the second colour. So the first colour here at the top is Nora George Yarns in the Fleckle colourway. And then you've got kind of a little section here where it fades into this colour here, which is Fuse Fibre Company in the Carousel colour. Yeah, there we go. So this is the current yarn I'm working on now, Fuse Fibre Studio, sorry, in the Carousel colourway. It's an American yarn brand. Tom picked this up for me when he was on a work trip to New York. And here it is in the cake. It is a lovely colour. And I'm just looking for, oh, there you go. So there's I've got so much stuff in this bag and needles everywhere, it's driving me mad. So there is the Nora George yarns that we started with, and it's moving into this colour here. And then these are going to be moving into these colours. So we're going from Carousel, which is this colour, into Down Sheepy Lane in Grandma's Garden. And then from that one, it's going to go into this one here, which is a woolen exclusive by Yarn Over New York. And again, this is another one that Tom picked up for me in New York. And it's the Greetings from Gowanus colourway, which I believe is borough the right word? I don't know. It's like an area of New York. And then that is then going to finish off going into another down sheepy lane in this colour here, which is the Absolutely Alice colourway. So they are my next 3 colours, which I kind of need to cake up because I didn't expect to be getting through the colours quite as quickly as I am. But I've decided to knit it as the pattern states. So I have done the garter stitch. I need to get this on bigger needles. I have done the garter stitch on the sleeves, on the sleeve caps. Yeah, and it's got some shaping at the front. Is that the front? No, that's the back. That's the front. It's got a bit of neck shaping at the front, so you obviously have a slightly lower neck at the front. I did knit slightly more with the first colour just to allow it to show slightly before the transition at the front. And yeah, and afterwards you go back and you pick up for the neckband. But I'm really enjoying it. I've been powering through this. I've been working on this a lot recently. I'm kind of at the point where I just want to get past the shoulder stitch, the shoulder stitches. I want to get past the sleeves, the underarms, because not only then do I get to take quite a lot of stitches off the needles, because I've got kind of 450 odd stitches on here at the moment. But also I will be able to, once it gets to that point, you stop the raglan increases, and it's pretty much just stocking stitch in the round with colour changes, which I think is going to be a really nice mindless project. I definitely need to get this on bigger needles. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying that and looking forward to sharing a bit more progress with you next time I record. And I've got a little progress keeper here on here. This is another one from Hannah of the Corner of Craft, and this was one of her this was the one she did for my cupcake club, for the strawberry and vanilla cupcake club. This was the exclusive little stitch marker she did. Let's see if I can show you that a little bit better. Lovely beaded strawberry. So yes, that is that new project. I'm trying to think if I've told you everything about it. I think I have. Oh, right. So in that case, we will move on. That's all the knitting. That's all the knitting content. So we will move on to some Yarny Goodness and to some shop news. So Yarny Goodness, I have a basket of Yarny Goodness. So I can't even actually remember what's in this basket. It's been a month, I think, since I last podcasted. And I tend to, when I podcast, when I get things, Yarny Goodness wise, I will pop them in this basket, which lives on the bookshelf just behind you, in preparation for the next podcast, so that I can then kind of share them with you on the podcast. But having been a month, I can't quite remember what's at the bottom of this. So we'll see. I'm just going to delve in at the top and work my way down. So I treated myself the other day to a little bit of self-striping yarn. As you know, I dye self-striping, and in fact there is a box just here full of it. So you'd think, why are you buying self-striping yarn? But do you know what? I just fancied somebody's, like, a bit different. I fancied knitting with somebody else's yarn and somebody else's self-striping. And this is what I'm thinking of doing the Country Roads socks from Nordic Stitches in. And this is the gorgeous colours. This is by the Yarn Badger, and she is a self-striping dyer in Sheffield. And this colourway is called Campfire, but it is stunning. And I can't quite remember how many colours are in here, but I think there might be 10 colours. And I hold my hat up to anyone that dyes, well, I dye self-striping, but anyone that can dye 10 colour self-striping and it not take like all week to do one skein, I am very impressed. I have the capacity to dye 10 colours with my warping board, but just the thought of the amount of time it would take me to warp, and also the amount of time it would take me to dye. I mean, it's going to take me double the amount of time to dye a 10 stripe to how it does to dye a 5 stripe, and I find my 6 stripes take longer to wind, which is ridiculous because actually they're the same length of yarn. But yeah, so 10 stripes, well done you. And I'm looking forward to knitting this up. And yeah, as I said, I think this is going to be the Country Roads socks. And then the other thing I purchased, I ordered the I'm just trying to find all the little bits and pieces for it. Yes, here we go. Beehive Yarns has been doing a Marvelous Miss Maisel. I couldn't for the life of me think of the name of the show. Her yarn club for the next 3 months is inspired by the Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is a TV series on Amazon Prime, and if you haven't watched it, I would recommend it. It's not for the faint-hearted because it's quite rude, but it is hilarious. It follows Mrs. Maisel, Midge, who she starts off as a housewife, and her husband leaves her, and she becomes a stand-up comedian. And it kind of follows this journey of her moving from being a housewife to a stand-up comedian in a time, it's kind of set in the 50s. Is it set in the 50s, 40s, 50s? I don't know. I'm rubbish with my decades, especially because it's set in America as well. So that throws me even more. But it's just gorgeous. I think it is kind of the 50s. But yeah, so this follows this idea of this woman who is trying to become a stand-up comic, which at the time was obviously a very male-dominated thing. And she is hilarious. It is such a funny program, and I would highly recommend it if you fancy checking it out. Anyway, so Beehive Yarns has done a Marvelous Miss Maisel yarn club for the next 3 months, and I've purchased the first month. I can't for the life of me remember whether I've ordered the second month. I think I might have done. I probably have. And this is the inspiration picture for the first month. And then this is the yarn. So it's Beehive Yarns, and this is the gorgeous, gorgeous kind of greens and blues that was inspired, and it's called Midge and Rose. And it's gorgeous. And I ordered on her DK base because I want to knit some more DK things, and I'm really glad I did, because I think this will make something really lovely for the boys in these colours, some kind of hats or something like that. So it's her DK base, so it's 100% superwash merino, and yeah, just absolutely stunning. Try and show you the colours properly. We've not got the best light this week, apologies for that. And then it also came with her card and a lovely little stitch marker. So that was kind of the first of my purchases. And then another purchase that arrived was this month's Lay Family Yarn and Friends mini skein club. And this month the dyer was Sherry Iris. So these are the lovely yarns that she has dyed up. Absolutely beautiful. I'm not very good at this, am I? You'd think after 2 years of podcasting I'd be better at holding up yarn, but apparently not. You'd also think I'd have better lighting, but apparently not. So these are the gorgeous yarns, blues and purples, and these are stunning. And then these are the ones by Kelly at Lay Family Yarn as well. Whoops. There we go. Oh, and you can just see on there the stitch marker that came with this month's. And for those of you that haven't watched before, the club is dyed each month inspired by the lavender sachet that is made by So Sweet Violet. And this was this month's fabric, the Liberty fabric. There we go. So yeah, I really enjoy this club, and as you know, I'm planning to knit short scrappy socks with each month of the club. Well, each month that I purchase anyway. So yeah, so they were all my purchases, and then I also took part in a couple of swaps, and I need some more tea before I tell you about the swaps. Now I'm trying to remember which ones I did. Yeah, so I took part in a couple of swaps. So first of all, there was an EYF swap hosted by Tracy of Thimble and Thread Make, and I took part in that last year as well. And this was my little parcel that arrived as part of that. She sent it in this fun little box, so I've still kept it in the box for the moment. And my partner for the swap was when you've just completely forgotten somebody's name. How appalling is that? I will put your name on the screen, sorry. But she has a business called Untangled Makes, She's Untangled Magpie on Instagram. And she makes various kind of sewn things. So she makes little cosmetics bags or project bags or whatever you want to call them. And she sent me one of her little boxy bags. These are actually lined with a kind of waterproof fabric. So you could use them for cosmetics or you could use them for knitting things as well. And she's popped a gorgeous little progress keeper on there too. But the other thing she sent me, and we did talk about this, one of the things she makes is reusable sanitary projects, so reusable kind of panty liners and things like that. And she has sent me a couple of those to try out. Now, clearly I haven't tried them out yet. I thought I would probably keep them in here before I use them, because you don't want to see that, do you? But these are the ones she sent me. And what she said is they've got a jersey, like a soft jersey fabric on one side and then a more cotton fabric on the other side. And they've got like a waterproof layer, the same waterproof fabric. It's kind of this waterproof fabric. She sent this little pouch that you kind of put them in when they've been used if you're out and about on the other side. And then what you do is you just popper them like that. Popper them like that into your knickers. Although the other way around even. That's why I can't get it to do up. Popper them like that into your knickers with the jersey side against your skin. So I will try these out. They said they're perfect for kind of using alongside other... See, now we're getting awkward conversations, aren't we? But they're perfect for using kind of alongside things like tampons or menstrual cups for a little bit of extra protection at that time of the month. So yeah, I am looking forward to actually giving these. Well, looking forward, is that quite the right term? No, I'm not really looking forward to it because it means I'll be on my period, but you know what I mean. I'm looking forward to trying these out. I think they'll be interesting to try out some more reusable products and more eco-friendly products. And as I said, it comes with a little waterproof bag that you can pop them in if you need to after they've been used. But yeah, I'm quite interested to try them out. Yes. Anyway. Right, she also sent me some yarny bits. Now I've stopped blushing of talking about periods and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I hope that didn't annoy anyone. So in here are the little yarny bits that she sent me. She sent me this lovely skein of, what I didn't mention is that I believe she was in Sweden. So it's been nearly a month since I received this, so I've got a little bit lost. So this lovely skein of sort of local to her hand-dyed yarn. And this is on a wool and, well, it's a wool and polyamide, so wool and nylon, basically, sock yarn base. I think this might make some really nice socks for Tom. And then she also sent a few minis and little scraps, which will be going, that's black lined. That's not, you're not going to be able to see that at all, are you? Let's put it on the pink lined one. Little bits of minis and things which will be going into some of my blankets. So that was my first little swap parcel. And then I also took part, Erin of Henny Penny Makes organised a little mini skein swap, an Easter swap, kind of a spring Easter kind of swap, which I took part in. And I was paired up with the lovely Ellen at Mrs. Lamb's Yarns. She is Kalashek. So this is where I'm going to mispronounce your business name, and apologies for that. I should have looked it up in advance, but she is oh no, look, I can see it, I can read it on here. Yes, so Kalashek Ellen, you can read it on there, hopefully. Can you read it on there? There we go. Is her website address, and she makes bags, but she also dyes yarn, and she dyes yarn as Mrs. Lamb's Yarns. And here we go. Dyes yarn as Mrs. Lamb's Yarns. And I used some of her yarn in my exploration station, if you remember rightly. So anyway, we took part in a little swap, and the idea was to swap some minis, but then we kind of swapped a couple of extra little bits with each other once we got kind of chatting. So she has sent me, got little bits of glitter in here. From the packaging, I think. She sent me this gorgeous red skein. It's coming up a lot more orange. It's kind of an orangey red skein of Sweet and Sour, which is her colourway, on her glitzy base, and it's got bronze stellina in it, and that is not going to show up on the camera at all. So it's a 70% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% bronze stellina. And then she also sent me a lovely little project bag of the camper vans. And as I showed you before, her little logo is on there. So that is like a perfect little sock project bag with a little boxed bottom. So I'm going to really enjoy using that. And then she also sent me a bundle of little mini skeins, which I've not opened up yet. Hopefully you can just about see them through the cellophane. Or I could open them and make lots of noise. Apologies for this bit. There we go. I'll still show them through the cellophane, but that's a lot better, isn't it? Which again are going to go into my blankets and various bits and pieces like that. So yeah, 2 lovely little swap parcels which arrived, and that is all my Yarny Goodness. I've been very lucky again this month, and also bought a few things. So I will move on now, once I've moved all of this out the way, if I can, to a bit of shop news. So I mentioned my shows, and that's been kind of my major kind of progress this month. So I did have an update at the beginning of June, which again, I wouldn't have podcast before then, unfortunately, so you will have missed it. But the update included the wildflower collection, and there are still some in stock of most of these colorways. And they will be coming back into stock after my shows, I'm sure, assuming I don't sell out of them. But I will definitely be making them available again. If you want them and they have sold out, then please contact me, because I am happy to either do a custom order or send you some of what I'm prepping for the shows and dye some more. So that is fine. It also included my advent calendars. Now, I think I talked about my advent calendar last time. I am doing a slightly different advent calendar this year. You receive 24 10-gram mini skeins and a knitting pattern. And the pattern will be designed by, or is being designed by, Brixton Pearl, Therese of Brixton Pearl, who I worked with on the Sea Cravings shawl, which used my Turning Tide fade kits. So she is working on that pattern. I have seen the pattern. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to work beautifully with the colour progression that I've got in mind for my advents. I've dyed the first colour, but that's about it. I really need to get on with it. Now I am listing my advents in a way that I'm hoping makes them as accessible as possible. So the whole advent calendar is £65. And that includes your mini skeins and the pattern. You'll receive a download code for the pattern, so you will be required to have a Ravelry account in order to be able to kind of log on and download the pattern, but obviously it'll be free when you download it with the code. Anyway, sorry, trying to explain things. And there'll be a couple of extra little bits and pieces in the advent, as there always are, I'm sure. I just haven't worked those bits out yet. But yeah, it'll be £65. But rather than listing all of my advents at the beginning of the year and having them sell out or whatever, I wanted to make it more accessible. So I listed 10 in June, which have sold out. I will be listing 10 in May. I listed 10 in May. Oh my goodness, I've lost track of the months, haven't I? I listed 10 at the beginning of May. I will be listing 10 at the beginning of June, 10 at the beginning of July, 10 at the beginning of August, and then I will be listing 10 at the beginning of September, I believe. And then any spares or leftovers will be coming with me to Perth on the 7th and 8th of September, where I will be vending. And then after that, any that I have left over after the end of September, which is, they will be shipping in October. So any that are left over at the end of September will then go up in the shop ready to ship in throughout October and November. That's my plan anyway. So the idea is that if you can't afford it now, which is completely understandable, I've not purchased an advent calendar yet. It's a big purchase, especially, you know, it's a big purchase. Then hopefully you'll sort of know that actually there'll be more available throughout the year, and you could save up and purchase it in August or something like that. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to do. So more on the shop news front. My June shows. So for those of you that can make it to the June shows, I am bringing Spring Garden Collection. There's 2 colours, ignore those ones. There's 2 colours missing that I haven't yet dyed up. Spring Garden Collection, I will have the Wildflower Collection. I will have semi-solids. Again, there are a couple of colours here that I haven't quite got up yet. I will have some random colorways just here, which again, more colors that are still to be dyed. I will also have mini skeins. There's a couple of bundles behind my head. Again, I will have more colors. And I will also have self-striping. I will also have another collection. I am in the process. Next week, I will be dyeing up another collection, a new collection of yarn. It's going to be, I think I'm calling it my school library collection. It's inspired by kind of classic children's books that you probably will have read when you were little. Certainly ones that I read and loved as a child. So I've picked out I've picked out 5 different children's books and 5 book covers to inspire the yarn, and I will be dyeing up a school library collection. It will be releasing at the shows, and then it will be available in the shop after that. But I have got some new self-striping colorways, so I thought I would share those with you quickly. So with regards to the online shop, for those of you that can't make it to shows, my self-striping will be coming to the shows with me. I then haven't quite decided whether I'm going to have an update. It will all depend on how much self-striping I come home from the shows with, as to whether any goes in the shop. Because obviously I've got Perth to dye for at the beginning of September, and I'm very, very conscious that I'm going to be dyeing for Perth throughout the school summer holidays. Which means I will have both children at home all week. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I may hold on to any self-striping that comes back with me, which means that these new colorways won't make it to the shop straight away. But what I am planning on doing is, once Perth is over, at the beginning of October, I will probably list all my self-striping colorways for a month. I will list them all dyed to order. So I will kind of put them all up. You can choose what colorway you want, and yeah, they'll be done dyed to order. So that will include all the new colorways too. So apologies that you might have to wait, but unfortunately that's just how life is going to work, because the self-striping is time consuming. Yeah. So what am I taking with me to the show? So I will have Storm's End, which is my grey rainbow. So you have the thicker stripe of grey with the thinner stripes of rainbow colour. I have also dyed up this one, which is called It's a Rainy Sunny Day. And if you have young children and you watch Peppa Pig, you might start singing the song. And this is basically, it's the same as Storm's End. It's got the same rainbow colours, but with a blue sky instead of a grey sky. I will be taking some Eggs and Bunnies, because that's a very popular colourway. And then I think the rest are, oh no, I'm also going to be taking some Hot Chocolate. Because that's also quite a popular colourway, and then the rest are new. So I've got Spring Garden, which is basically the colours of the Spring Garden collection in a self-striping ball. I have got Posy, which is this one here. So you've got a white, limey green, a pink, 2 pinks and a purple in that one. I have got Ocean Breeze, which is this gorgeous kind of teals and sea green and purples as well. And then I've also got 2 new colours that are 3-stripe colours. I've not dyed 3 stripes before, so this is a new one to me. So we have got Hydrangea, which are these lovely pastels. So you've got kind of a green, a purple and a pink in that one. And Cactus Flower, which is this one here. So you've got like a sagey green, a grey and a pink in that one. So that are all my self-striping. And I'm about, I'll show you how much is in this box. Ooh, self-striping escape. I'm about halfway through winding the self-striping for the shows. And the shows are in just under 2 weeks' time. Oh dear, self-striping everywhere. Anyway, so that was kind of my shop news section. I'm also now out of focus. Come back to me. There we go. That's better, isn't it? So that was all of my shop news section. So I will be back. I will be continuing my May vlogs throughout the rest of May. So if you want to keep up with what's going on with all the show prep, then come and check those out. And I will be back hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, do you know what? I think I might be able to, because hopefully I won't have too much work to do between Leeds and Aberdeen, because I'm kind of prepping for Aberdeen at the same time as prepping for Leeds. So hopefully I will be able to get a podcast recorded in between Leeds and Aberdeen, and I can let you know how Leeds went and what I've been working on in that time. So yeah, I will leave you there. If you want to come and join in the knit along, then head over to the Ravelry groups, which will be linked down below. And yeah, come and share in the Ravelry group and come and say hello over there. And I think that's it really. I'm rambling now, aren't I? I've kind of lost track. I need to get on with winding some self-striping before the boys get back from swimming. Better get on with it. See you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.